Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Raising the Curtain, a Bloomington Normal Theater cast with me, Ashleigh Raylin. Today, we are here with Brett Cottone, a very well-known name in the theater community in Bloomington, Illinois. How you doing?
Good. I don't know about how well I'm known, but
I think you're
I will
very
take that
well known.
I will take that as a compliment.
I think you're very well
Well,
known.
thank you.
I know of you quite well.
Well, we've worked together many times.
Too many times. No, I'm kidding. And we're working together again in the spring, so it's a good time.
Well, we'll make sure to plug that by the end of this.
Yes, we will. So, yes, Brett and I are here to talk about the upcoming production with Nomad Theatre Company, which I believe is going to actually be the first show of their official season. Is that correct?
Yeah, this is their opening slot for the season. Yeah.
Excellent. And I'm going to botch the name, so I'm going to have you say it.
Shaken Not Stirred. We also refer to it as The Bar Plays.
Right.
But yeah, Shaken Not Stirred is kind of the title because it's at Shake It Up, the fun downtown restaurant bar. We're performing upstairs during the weekend, and then on Sundays we're doing matinees downstairs. So yeah.
Oh, cool! I didn't realize it was in both locations. I thought it was just upstairs.
We wanted to make sure it was accessible. So Connie, one of the founders of Nomad, she was very adamant that we do some downstairs because it is a big stairwell and they don't have an elevator. So we want to make sure we have all of the patrons can come see it. So.
Excellent. So, Brett, tell us a little about yourself, how you got into theater, and the area and everything.
Okay, well, I'll do the super speed up version. My first theater experience was in elementary school. We did a production of like Tom Sawyer whitewashing the fence or something, and I was Tom, or I might have been Huck. I don't remember. I was one of the boys, and I remember doing that little skit in elementary school. I think it was like 5th grade maybe, and just instantly being like, oh, this is fun, I enjoy this. And we did a couple other little things in elementary school. I remember the first show I ever auditioned for outside of school was would have been Charlie and the Chocolate Factory at Community Players. Scott Myers directed it.
Oh yeah.
And I love to tell the story because it just tells you what a diva I was as a kid. Which was I auditioned and got called back for I think Tommy TV and Charlie, and didn't get either of them, and was asked to be an Oompa Loompa, and I said no. So that's my mistake, because I think I would have had fun, but I was just a kid, and I was like, I don't want to be the little orange dude. Like I don't like them.
I don't want to be the little orange dude.
Yeah, and then started doing. It kind of went away. For some reason, I wasn't really aware of the theater program at Chittix when I went through junior high, but there was one. I just never really heard about it. And then when I got into high school, I think I was just looking for something to do. Kind of after school, I definitely was not into athletics. I tried wrestling, didn't love that. And then did a lot of shows in high school. Really fell in love with it there. Had a wonderful theater program at Normal Community back in the day, where we actually had drama classes and film literature classes, and it was incredible. Like
I wish the school still had
it was
that.
a high school opportunity that a lot of kids don't get, and I know how special that was. Diane Mishler was an incredible drama teacher and was a lot of fun to work with, as long as she liked you.
Honestly, same.
You didn't want to cross her, but the theater kids were special for her. So I had a blast working with her and the rest of the kids there. And then I had these gaps in my life where I fell out of it. So then got back into it at Community Players back in it would have been 2006, I think, was my first show. Cool. Pretty much haven't stopped since.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I know Brett from Community Players. I know you've served as, the technology chair, past president, play reading. Any other positions on the board?
No. Social media technology. Yeah. That one was like the first one I did. I think that was about it.
Oh, and vice president, obviously.
Yeah.
With how that works.
That's how that all works. And then behind the scenes there, I think the only thing I was going to say the only thing I haven't done is stage managed, and then I just remember a show I stage managed.
There you go.
So yeah, I think I've done just about everything there as far as staff positions.
We just got to get you to choreograph.
Never. That'll never happen. Well, technically, I did choreograph one little thing for Puffs, but it was
there you go.
But it was intentionally supposed to look bad.
Well, there we go. We'll leave the choreography to Wendy.
It was the only reason I did that.
That's funny. So you are predominantly a director, I would say.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think positions I do the most would probably be directing, and then maybe like lights and sound.
Right.
Tech type positions. I love tech. Everybody knows me that if they're having a tech problem, they can reach out. Either myself or Chris Turvin will probably fix it.
Yeah. Or just tech in general. I was just asking Brett about a Mac computer. So
we'll get everybody converted eventually.
Hopefully. Have you done anything else within the area outside of Community Players and then this one with Nomad?
Yeah, a little bit. I've done one show at Heartland, which was amazing. I did Stella and Lou there a few years back.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, which was so much fun. And I just loved working with Sandy and the rest of the team there. And I just love that show. The script is incredible. And I felt very lucky to be a part of it. Mm-hmm. And then I've also just did Nomad's last show. So I was on stage for...
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, for the Warehouse Plays, which was kind of their... getting their feet wet again as far as getting performances out there, but also their like season announcement party. Mm-hmm. So it was fun. We did two performances of that, and Jimmy Chrisman directed that. That was a lot of fun. And other than that, I mean, I haven't been on. That's the first time I've been back on stage in a while. I think the last things I did on stage were still on Lou, and then like August Osage at Players.
Oh yeah,
so
that's right.
Yeah.
I recall that.
Yeah.
Is this your first time doing 10-minute shows?
As like a collection, yes.
Okay.
I've done some 10-minute work here and there, or like one act-y kind of work too, but I've never done like a full-length show made of 10-minute shows, which is kind of an interesting thing to try to put together. It was fun to. It's kind of like making a playlist where you have to, think of the rise and fall of the music. So you think of that as like how the shows kind of play together as a whole. So playing with that was a lot of fun, and kind of figuring out the order they should go in and like how they're all working out. But yeah, first time working with a whole bunch of 10 minutes at once. Yeah.
What's been your biggest challenge with the different casts, the amount of shows, the space, anything like that?
Space has been interesting just because you're staging something at a bar, so inherently people sit at bars.
Yes.
So trying to make sure that each show felt as distinct as possible and had as much movement in it that would feel natural has been an interesting challenge, and we've all kind of talked about that. There's like one show that I think they're up at the top and they get up at the end, and that's it. They sit because we couldn't find a place for really where it felt natural to like get up. They're like these two people talking. They're going to sit at a table and talk. I think that was the one thing I was pretty adamant about when we first kind of talked about it, was not having people just sitting at like the actual long bar and putting like a table and chairs into the acting space as well, just to give some variety to it, and also just because I feel like it's more natural to people to face each other when they're performing, and it's really hard to do that at a bar.
Absolutely.
Where you have to, and only 2 of the shows we're doing have bartenders as characters, where you actually have someone behind the bar. So we wanted to make sure we had a lot of like face-to-face interaction. So that's been one of the more challenging things. We have, honestly, audio is always an issue. We discussed that a lot when we're doing the Warehouse shows as well. It's hard to do shows in spaces that aren't designed to carry audio the same way, and there's just a lot of other noises in a bar, like refrigerators and air conditioning units,
right?
Just things that make buzzes and sounds that you don't always have to deal with in a theater space, or if you are, you don't notice it. So, but we've got some interesting solutions for that stuff. For that stuff as well, and it's just I think that's the fun part about doing the site-specific theater that Nomad's so interested in, is that it gives you new challenges, and honestly, that's the main reason I think directing is still fun and fascinating and interesting, is because you never know what you're gonna have to deal with, and you're constantly surprised, and you constantly have to just roll with the punches and figure things out,
right?
And I find that really fun. So,
do you? Well, I know this answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you typically direct plays or musicals?
Usually musicals, which is kind of fun, and especially because I came at this not being super experienced with musicals, even as a performer. I came into Players doing or having done mostly plays.
Right.
The only musicals I ever did were with Norwell Parks and Rec Summer Theater, which is still transformed now into, I believe, Town of Normal High School Theater. Is that what it's called?
Town of Normal Summer High School Theater.
God, it's a long name.
It's a real long name.
Normal Parks and Rec Summer Theater just rolls off my tongue more, just because it's what I grew up with. But
it's the same thing.
But yes, same thing, and it's still around, and I love that it is. And it was a blast doing that when I was a kid. But those were the only musicals I ever did. I didn't do the high school musicals in Normal Community because speech team interfered.
Yeah, speech is always a pickle.
And speech goes along so well with like a theater kid who's doing mostly drama, I guess. Absolutely. So I didn't get a lot. I did help out with the tech though, of course, but and that's where I met a lot of the people that I eventually would work with at Community Players that I just didn't know it, like Alan and Penny and Chris, and all of them were so involved with Normal Community shows back in the day, which was really interesting. And Jolynn, of course,
we love Jolynn,
because that's where I first worked with her doing choir stuff. But I think that mostly musicals appealed to me at Players because of the challenge and because of like you get a little bit more spectacle. Yeah. In a musical that you can really play with the audience's emotions, and you get to do a lot more with lights and sound, and all of that stuff appeals to me. So I like to think I'm a very big picture director when it comes to musicals, and I'm always just trying to like make sure everything kind of works in sync and it goes very slickly and smoothly. So that's where I like to focus. But I've done a few plays at Players as well, and really have a blast doing those, but of course they tend to be more technical as well. The ones I'm attracted to are more technical.
Yeah, I mean, working on Puffs and Complete Works with the amount of costume changes in Puffs, the amount of props, and they had to look. It's really hard to prop a show where the props have to look kind of janky.
Yeah, that's the fun part. So both those shows actually have like kind of janky props.
They do.
It's just fun.
Like. It's some of the hardest stuff I've ever had to work on. Yeah. But yeah, they are very spectacly, constantly moving, and just a lot of...
The more challenging the show is, the more I'm probably drawn to want to direct it. And that's, like we mentioned, why I think Rock of Ages is exciting this winter.
Yeah, because, shameless plug.
Yeah, because that one's going to be... It's going to be a really hard show, but that's the exciting part.
I'm excited for that show.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun because I think it's going to be a challenge, but I think if we get it right, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be great. The costumes are going to look really good, if I do say so myself.
We're going to need lots of metal spikes on things.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I already did the last 80s show, so... do you know how Nomad went about selecting the particular plays that we're doing?
Yeah, so I got to be a part of the end of that process, which was a lot of fun. Pamela Morgan did a great job with the play reading committee, ranking the shows, basically. They had a really nice process of kind of scoring them. I'll get to be a part of that process for, I think, maybe the cabin ones. I can't remember. I'm on one of the play reading committees, so
gotcha.
I'm very excited about that because I've never done like a short play reading kind of thing. It's more been like full length and stuff like that. But so that'll be really interesting. And they ranked those, and then Connie and Kristen, the founders of Nomad, who also most of the time are going to be acting as producers on a lot of these early shows. Connie's pretty much produced this one and just done an incredible job. I love working with her.
Oh yeah, Connie's great.
I've worked with her a few times, and she's just the best. And so we basically went through them and tried to figure out what worked as a whole. And that was really, we sat there for a couple hours. We'd all read them all already, but just kind of going through and discussing which ones were similar and which ones weren't, and which ones had themes that kind of connected, or and it really the way it kind of formed is the whole thing ended up being very relationshipy.
Yeah.
And not in a bad way, but just a lot of the plays ended up being about people either wanting to fall in love or having lost love or being lonely and they just had a lot of ties, and so the shows kind of jumped out once we kind of realized that some of these shows did have some similar themes, and we're like, oh, this one kind of works or feels like it kind of partners with this one, and it kind of just it was weird. It was just after about a couple hours of talking its way through, we were just like, these ones kind of all fit. So yeah, it worked out really good, and it was probably within a week after that I had the order kind of figured out, that I was like, this is what makes sense as far as a progression of them. Originally, I was gonna try to do like a framing idea for the whole thing, and it was way too complicated and didn't really make sense with the scripts involving I was gonna try to set them in different time periods, but too many of the scripts were too modern. It was basically what it came down to, and I didn't want to change dialogue or anything like that, and so the time progression didn't really make sense. So I kind of scrapped that and decided it was easy enough to just do it thematically, and then through like music a little bit, tying them together. So,
do you know how many scripts you guys read to narrow it down to these final 8, 10?
I believe the play reading committee read through somewhere around like 75.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a good amount.
Yeah.
And a lot of these are from all over the place. Some of them got eliminated only because I believe that either Sticky or or in a previous Nomad show had done a couple of them.
Oh, yeah.
We really liked the script, but it was like we didn't want to repeat.
That makes sense.
They didn't want to repeat themselves so soon. So some of them got eliminated for that as well. But yeah, there was a good amount gone through, and a lot of these were plays that had previously been submitted for Sticky back in the day. People don't know what that is. It was Connie's previous kind of iteration of bar plays where they would perform them once every couple months or so, usually at the old Firehouse, which is now Pizza Paya.
Yeah.
And do shows there. I think there was a couple other locations they used, but those were always a lot of fun to go see.
Yeah. And I know you had mentioned this is not just, local playwrights. This is all over the country.
Yeah, I don't believe anybody is local
nice.
From these particular ones. I think some of the ones in the pool might have been. But I believe the closest one might be like Michigan or something.
Okay.
An M is standing out, but Milwaukee maybe. I don't know.
Something with an M.
Something with an M. But there's just from all over the place, and some really solid scripts. Some of these are hysterically funny. One of them in particular makes me tear up every night. I just adore it. So it's just an incredibly talented group of actors too.
Yeah, I agree. I've been able to see a couple of the rehearsals, and there are some where it's just like, why am I crying in a bar? And why is this so adorable? Or why am I laughing so hard?
Yeah, there's some really sweet stuff too. Yeah. And it's fun because it does. I really feel like it's a really good balance of kind of like all sides of relationships. There's one that's focuses on divorce. There's one that focuses on people looking for love, either in like one ads or speed dating. You've got people that are on a date. You've just got so there's just a lot of that. And there's also some fun ones that are kind of tangentially involved with young love, like our opener. So
what was it about this particular show? I shouldn't say show, about the bar plays that kind of drew you to it, as opposed to the cabin or the polling place that they have coming up?
Honestly, I didn't know about those.
Oh, fair.
So to be completely honest, I was brought in when they still hadn't announced the season yet.
Okay, that makes sense.
So I was let in on the bar plays knowing that they were going to open with that, but very few other people knew that was what they were going to open with. So the play reading committee knew because they were going through the plays, and they kind of needed to know the context of them to choose them.
Right.
But I think other than that, the other ones hadn't been announced yet. So I was just honored to be asked to be involved.
Yeah.
So it was mostly just like very honored to be asked and to be involved with this so early on was just an opportunity I didn't want to pass up. And it was just like I said, I just love doing something new, and I think it's a really fun challenge to do a show at a bar. And if anybody knows me and my affinity for bourbon, hanging out at a bar to do a show is not a bad thing. So.
Didn't you just take you went to Bourbon University?
I went
or
to
something?
Moonshine University.
Moonshine University.
Yeah. I took a course. For anyone who knows me, I took a week-long intensive course on distilling down in Louisville, and it was a blast. I learned more than I could possibly retain in my brain, so I have lots of notes, luckily. about how to distill spirits and make whiskey and stuff like that. It was
really cool.
It was really fun, and I've
That's
hopefully
very you.
hopefully I can put that knowledge to work in the next few years. But I got a long road ahead of me. So.
Sure, good deal. That's awesome. So let me ask you, kind of moving away from the show itself, but why do you do theater?
It's a really good question, and I don't know if I've ever pinpointed the exact reason, because I don't consider myself an extrovert in the traditional sense. Like I actually, the older I get, the less I like performing.
Same.
And it's a weird transition because I used to really enjoy it, and it stresses me out more. It makes me I get more nervous on stage. I obsessively review my lines more, and I don't typically screw them up, but it becomes an obsession because you don't want to screw up. And it's just a weird thing that happens. I don't know if it happens to everybody, but it definitely happened to me. So I think I'll do less and less performing, but directing gives me the ability to control everything, as Wendy would say, my wife. And
I agree with that statement.
She just thinks I'm a control freak, which might be the case. But I think people that have worked with me would attest that I like to let people do their own work.
You are a very collaborative person.
Yeah.
As someone who's costumed 6 shows now for you.
I have opinions, but I don't want to get in your way.
Right.
Either.
You'll let us run, and if it's a dumpster fire, you'll be like, can we fix that?
But I'm also the first one to call out if something's not working.
Right.
And tell you what we should do instead.
Right. But that's your job.
But yeah, exactly. It's a good place for me in the sense that maybe I am a little bossy and like to be in charge. But hopefully I do it in a way that people enjoy working with me, and do it in a way that I don't piss everybody off.
Right.
I'm okay with pissing a few people off, but not everybody. I want to be semi-liked.
Right.
I'm okay with a little bit of.
I always say there's a difference between being authoritative and being bitchy, and you got to know how to toe that line.
Well, and it is tricky because in this town, especially, it is a small community, and we all know each other. And I appreciate everyone as a person, and I don't know if this is not I don't think this is the case for everyone, but I have the ability to very much turn off and turn on personal things when I'm working. And I look at theater as work.
Right, sure.
In a good way. It's work I enjoy. And luckily, even in my day job, I do a lot of work I enjoy. So I'm very lucky in that sense. But I come in and I want to get stuff done when I'm in the theater. And hopefully people appreciate that, because the one thing I definitely want to not do is waste people's time.
Yeah.
I've been an actor enough times in shows where I felt like I was sitting around. That I desperately try to make sure everyone feels like they're included, and if they're there, they're doing something.
Right.
And I think that's it, and it's a struggle. It is hard to do that. It's a lot of prep and a lot of work and a lot of scheduling, but we try to do that as much as possible. But and I think a lot of the lessons. This sounds awful. A lot of the lessons I've learned as a director over the years is just not doing things I didn't like as a performer.
I think that's valid. Yeah,
and it's just learning things the hard way, and being like, okay, I didn't like this, I'm not going to do that, or I did like that, let's borrow that. A lot of it is, there's plenty of good examples in town I've had with directors as well that I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. Let's do things that way, or just also trying not to be stuck in doing things a certain way just because that's the way they were always done.
Right.
Which is can get frustrating as well, as many of the theater people in town will tell you. But we're a very insular little community, so I feel like we could probably just do a whole podcast in code, and people would understand what we're talking about.
Honestly, probably. Maybe we should try that one day.
Yeah. That'd be
funny.
Just hide about, see if everyone can guess what you're talking about.
Okay, everyone has to favorite this episode if you want that episode to happen, because I would do that. So I'm going to ask you this as a director. We all know everyone has a dream role that they want to play.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have a dream show you would want to direct, or have you already directed it?
It's kind of twofold. Yes, I would say Rent was my dream show, and I got to direct it, and it's the show I would direct again in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah.
I would do that show.
And it was beautiful.
Over and over again. It was an incredible experience for a lot of reasons, some of which are not positive, but there was that cast was bound together. That cast and crew were bound together by the show itself and just tragedy in general.
Right.
But it made for a very beautiful experience that I felt just very touched by every night, just with that cast and crew and audience. So that show I became obsessed with when the cast album came out. I remember going to Best Buy and buying like the 2-disc CD set, like the day it came out. I was obsessed with it for like an entire year. I don't think the CDs left my little Discman in my car. But as far as dream shows I haven't directed yet, I'm desperate to direct Spring Awakening.
I love Spring Awakening.
It's one of my favorite shows of all time. I had listened to the music and really loved it, but actually ISU's production of it made me completely fall in love with it. Yeah. I thought that was a brilliant production, and just could not believe how good it was. And ever since then, I've been wanting to do it. So we'll see if anybody lets me, because everybody has opinions about that show.
Right.
But I would love to do that one. And it tends to be the shows I tend to be drawn to tend to be the more modern ones. I don't have a lot of. It's not that I don't have fondness for some of the classics, but they don't speak to me in the same way. And it's because I don't think, like, Rent was my entry into musicals. Before that, I think the only show cast album I really listened to was Jesus Christ Superstar. That was actually my intro, because I was cast in that my sophomore year of high school, and then got mono.
Oh no!
And couldn't do it. I went to where Normal Parks and Rec did it. Luckily, I was healthy by the time they did Fiddler, which was the second when they used to do 2 shows every summer.
Right.
That I'm trying to. There's got to be there's some newer stuff that the rights aren't available yet.
Right.
For sure. I would love to direct Waitress, but honestly, I think a woman should direct that. To be honest, I don't
disagree with that statement.
But as much as I would love to direct that show, and I adore that show, I really think a woman should direct that show.
I'd love to direct that show.
But of other modern stuff I've like Hadestown, like that. It'll be years before I can do it. But if 10 years from now that the rights become available, I would kill to direct Hadestown.
I need to see that show and I've talked to you about this.
Yeah.
That is the show I cannot get into, no matter how many times I've listened to it. And I was the same way with Hamilton until I saw it.
I can understand that. I think you would fall in love with that show seeing it. I sobbed like a baby at the end of that show.
Yeah.
But it's just beautiful. It's and the performances are stunning. Like I just think it's a really special show. And part of that is just the I don't know, like the New Orleans like funk of that show is so fun, and just the kind of the folksiness of it all. I don't know. Like, it's special.
The story of it is so fascinating to me, and
just how it was like workshopped forever.
Yeah. And it's just like my brain just doesn't like just hearing it. It's just like, this is wrong. I don't know. But
and I've had shows like that where I listened to them and I was like, it's okay. And sometimes it's just listening to it over and over again where you can kind of get a feel for it. Like I remember listening to Wedding Singer way before I saw it, and just being like, oh, this is okay. And then I saw it and I was like, oh, this is so fun.
Yeah, it's fun. It's cute.
And because it didn't click with me on the album, but it clicked with me watching people perform it. Yeah. So
isn't that funny how that works?
Yeah.
I'm kind of opposite boat of you. Is I like to take the classic and make them modern when I direct shows.
You do.
I like to edge stuff out that probably shouldn't be edged out. But don't worry, James and the Giant Peach is not going to be that edgy.
You're not going to do the like a goth version of James the Giant. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding.
Although the ants are going to kind of be a little gothy steampunk.
You can make them like Tim Burton-y.
That's kind of the vibe we're going for.
Yeah, they'd be fun.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Burton.
That makes perfect sense because like the whole Harry Sonic Nightmare Before Christmas connection with the stop motion animated movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I took JCS and flipped it on its head, but it went over pretty well.
You know what? And honestly, if because that's one I definitely considered wanting to direct as well, because I also love that show, and I definitely was going to do something with it. I just didn't know what yet. Yeah. I didn't really have, and I didn't have to think about it because I wanted to do something else anyway. But yeah, so it needed to have something done to it. I don't think that show, when done super traditionally, really works anymore.
I don't think it does either. Yeah. And that's kind of the whole reason I do theater, is to make you look at something a little bit differently. So Would you say that Rent is your favorite musical in general then?
I think it is purely from a nostalgia standpoint. I really think that show works just incredibly well. And for me in particular as a Gen Xer and like it just speaks to me. But I understand why people don't. I equate it to Hair.
Yeah.
Hair does not work for me. I've never been a Hair fan. I've tried to get into that show.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But I totally get why people are into it. And Rent, I feel like, is the same for me. So I get why people wouldn't like it. Even like hardcore theater people, there's people that are like, eh. But for me, it is like, excuse me, man. But for me, it's like, it's a generational show.
Yeah.
Like it is the same way some people feel about Wicked, I feel about Rent. So it's very special. But gosh, as far as like modern ones, they're all so good. I just saw Death Becomes Her and was
up in Chicago,
floored by how funny that show is. It's a little messy in the second act. Like you can tell, like it feels a little rushed here and there. But like having a show that is basically like almost completely just like four people, where it's just like four people in an ensemble gives them so much time to do character work and like. The relationship between the two women is so strong and so freaking funny, and that show just has some like one-liners that just floored me. And the technical aspects of that show were amazing too. They do some incredible gags with with violence. I don't want to say more for to not spoil anything.
Right.
But I thought the music was way better than I expected. It was very fast paced. I don't know. That show blew me away, and I'm glad it did, because the last two shows, I think that we'd seen in Chicago before they went to New York, we really disliked it.
Oh no!
Yeah, because so we went and saw what was it? Devil Wears Prada was horrible.
Yeah,
I was like, how did Elton John write this?
I'm pretty sure it's been completely scrapped now.
Well, it's opening on the West End.
Is it? Okay,
It's a new director. And I think a new slightly new staging. It's a mostly new cast.
Okay, that might be a good thing then.
Yeah, so they might be able to fix it, but honestly, my biggest problem with that show was the music. I thought it was meh. And I think I just remember this from the Tonys. What is it? Shania Taub? Whoever won for Suffs.
Oh,
I'm saying her name wrong.
I can't think of her name either, but I know who you're talking about.
I think she wrote the lyrics for Devil Wears Prada. I could be wrong.
Really?
You can correct Ashley if I'm wrong.
You all have Google. Look that up.
But anyway, so I was kind of like, wait, what? And then, what was the other one we went and saw? There was another movie adaptation thing. Pretty Woman. That show was awful.
I didn't even know that became a stage. But yes, I did.
They did a Chicago premiere of Pretty Woman, and it was. I kept telling people it was the worst show I've ever seen with the most talented cast.
That's funny.
Like incredible.
I love that.
Incredible talent in it that just could not save how boring that show was, because Bryan Adams' music sucked. But I'm excited to go see. We're going to see Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, like the Goodman.
Oh, nice.
Next month, so I'm super pumped about that, because that's the new Jason Robert Brown.
Yeah.
His new show.
I'm going completely off our topic of this video, or not video. This
so you can
episode.
Edit out whatever's the worst part of this.
No, I'm going to keep all of this. I do think you should come back on in a couple months when life has slowed down, and we should just do like a theater conversation, because I think that would go over well.
I would love that.
But I have to. How do you feel about Jagged Little Pill? I feel like you would direct Jagged Little Pill.
I would. I've seen that show twice, actually. We saw it in New York with the original cast, and then we saw it again on tour. I think that show's beautiful. I mean, just thinking about two of the scenes in that show makes me want to cry.
Oh my God, Eli! When we were watching it, and as someone who has a mental health stuff with her, the uninvited.
Oh yeah, just kills you.
I was shaking. Eli was had his hand on my leg, deep
the choreography of that is incredible.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And I got to see it with Heidi Blickenstaff, and I fangirled.
Yeah.
And that
we saw her on Broadway, but for whatever reason we didn't. She was on the tour, but she didn't perform the night we saw the tour.
Oh, of course.
So that was a bummer, because we wanted to see her again.
Yeah.
But it was even the woman who did it. I wish I remembered. She was incredible too.
I know, I can't think of her name either.
I have yet to, and this is something I can love to be able to say about professional theater is I have never seen a swinger or an understudy who didn't blow me away.
We saw
every time I'm like, I don't care if they're not the lead, they rule. Like,
yeah, we saw an understudy for oh my gosh, Heart of Stone 6, whatever.
Oh yeah,
Jane Seymour. And when we found out she was the understudy, and I think we saw this right after last year's Tonys when like they made a big deal about all the work that the understudies have done for shows because of COVID and everything like that. Yeah, and we saw her, and I was like, that's the understudy? It's mind-boggling to me.
I'm always so impressed by the swings and the understudies. They always kill it. And I've never noticed, like, sometimes I've sworn after they were so good that I'm like, the other person who's supposed to be the star couldn't have possibly done
right,
this
exactly.
thing.
Like, I think you're wrong.
Yeah, I think they cast this right.
I think you're wrong.
But yeah, so it's always great to see them get to shine. But yeah, man, there's a lot. Like, we didn't get to if anyone knows myself and my wife, we try to get out to New York at least once a year. We haven't been out there this year. We're going to try to get out there in the spring, of course, because Wendy is so excited that Smash is finally going to happen.
Yes, Wendy loves Smash.
It's her favorite thing ever. She will tell you. She could probably quote like half the episodes to you, like just from memory.
Yeah.
But so yeah, the Smash musical is finally going to happen, and we think it'll open before for Tony eligibility, which means it should be open by the spring, I would assume.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're probably heading out there for that when it opens, and then hopefully we'll get to see a few other things. Like, God, I hope Stereophonic's still around. I'm desperate to see Stereophonic.
Yeah.
And it got extended through January so far, but like, we don't know past that, so I'm hoping it extends for like months longer.
Right.
But who knows?
I want to see Illinois.
Yeah, that one had such a short run.
It did, and I
missed it when
it
was in Chicago.
Yeah, and I'm so sad. But just seeing their performance on the Tonys, I was like, I need this in my life.
Yeah, it was. Wendy was instantly like, I need to see this somewhere. Yeah. And I'm wondering if they'll do like a small tour or something. Maybe.
I hope,
because it seems like it. I mean, I hate to say this, but I would assume like a dance heavy show like that might be a little bit cheaper to tour because there's probably less set.
Probably.
Just less to load in and out.
Yeah, it didn't look like it was a massive set.
I don't know if I would love to see it, but well, I'll also have to report back on the Lord of the Rings musical we're seeing.
What?
Yeah, at Chicago Shakespeare is at Navy Pier is it's like I think it's a transport from England maybe
or
maybe Australia. Maybe it might be Australian. I don't know, but there's a Lord of the Rings musical we're going to see.
Oh my gosh!
And I have no expectations. I've not heard a thing from it, but I'm just fascinated to see how they adapt that into a stage show that's like 2.5, 3 hours long.
Well, I'm intrigued by all of like these Twilight parody musicals. As someone who was a Twilight kid, like what is happening?
Yeah, it is. What is it? We're getting Spamilton.
Yes,
at the BCPA, which I know nothing about.
I saw that on Facebook this morning.
But I'm sure is very funny.
So, all right. Well, anyway, we will come back to these conversations in a later episode. But anyway, back to Shake It Up. No, Shaken Not Stirred.
Shaken Not Stirred at
Shake It Up. There we go. Perfect. So, Shaken Not Stirred at Shaken Up with Nomad Theatre Company. You want to give us the dates?
So, yeah, give me 1 second to pull them up on my phone because I'm bad with numbers.
All good.
Hold on. And, yes, I got them all right here. So, starting on the 27th is our opening, Thursday the 27th of June. You can come see the show at, we'd recommend you get there at 7. The show starts at 8, but we want to give you plenty of time to have some drinks, maybe get an appetizer if you want. We're there to be really transparent. We want Shake It Up to have an incredibly successful run with this show. We want to show them that site-specific theater is something that makes sense for them. So we want lots of people to come there and spend lots of money because we want them to have a good response from giving us their space. They have been incredibly gracious and been a great partner to work with. So I cannot say enough good things about Shake It Up. So come see us Thursday for opening on the 27th. Then we've got Friday the 28th and Saturday the 29th. Those are all at that same time. Come see us at 7, and the show starts at 8. On Sunday the 30th, it might be sold out. I know at least one of the Sundays is sold out, and I don't remember which one. But if you want to come on a Sunday when it's downstairs and you don't have to deal with the stairs, you need to get your tickets like as soon as you hear this because they
Yeah.
might be gone.
Yeah,
But
I heard Connie say that Sundays were almost sold
yeah,
out
so
completely.
those shows I believe start at 3, which means we recommend you come at 2, hang out for a bit, get some drinks, and then the following weekend, which is the weekend of the 4th, so Friday the 5th, we've got a show at that 7 o'clock time, and Saturday the 6th of July, we've got a show, and then we close on Sunday the 7th of July, and I have a bad feeling that one is the one that's probably going to be sold out.
I think you're right.
I prefer you come see it upstairs if you can, just because there's a little more ambiance, a little more dark bar mood,
Yeah.
which kind of fits the show a little bit better. I'm not exactly sure how it's going to be. I don't think I've ever performed a show indoors flooded by sunlight before, which is how it'll be performed downstairs on Sunday.
Because they've got that big, like, it's not a bay window, but it's
just
like a huge window.
The whole front of the place is glass,
Yeah.
which is nice. I love the inside of that space. It's beautiful. Real high tin ceilings and the whole bit. So it'll just be it's just going to be a different daytime vibe, which will be fun. But because it's just not anything I've really experienced before. I've done some outdoor shows during the day, but never like an indoor air conditioned show, but like flooded with sunlight.
Right.
So yeah, it'll be interesting, but it's it'll be nice to make sure like everybody that wants to see it can see it. So.
Do you know about what the seat capacity is?
So I believe upstairs we're seating. I think we're selling like 44 tickets per performance. Downstairs it might be closer to 40. It might have been a little less just because the way it's laid out.
It's a little bit more narrow, I think.
Yeah, just only by like a foot, but it is just a little bit. So it's going to be a little tighter, and it's just kind of laid out a little different where we don't have the ability to put a bunch of chairs kind of like on one side of the room like we do upstairs.
Yeah.
So but I want to give a huge shout out to Rachel, our stage manager. She has been incredible. She's killing it because she's not only stage managing, she's also basically playing the role of a bartender through the whole show.
She was one of my Tri-Valley kids a few years ago.
I think we talked about that. Yeah. She's been great, and she's such a joy to work with, and she's just killing it too. So everything's gone really well.
Awesome. All right. Anything you want to add about the show, the experience, other than come see it?
Come see it. Come get a few drinks. Come hang out with us. It's a very casual pre and post show atmosphere. The actors will probably wandering around before and after the show to hang out and socialize. And I think it'll just be a unique experience. I think it's a fantastic date night.
Yeah.
For people to just come and do something different in town that you might not always have the opportunity to, especially since it's a little bit later, especially since there's alcohol to partake in. You can also hopefully it gives you a few extra laughs as well. But no, I just think it's a really unique opportunity to go see theater and see a site-specific show like Nomad wants to bring. So
yeah, and I mean, do you know about the runtime of it?
So I believe with intermission it should be under 2 hours, but that's all about all I've got, and that'll it's
vague,
and it'll also depend on like how many people need refills during intermission,
right?
Because we'll be holding until everybody gets a second drink in their hand. So so yeah, it might take a little longer, but yeah, I'm guessing everyone should be out of there by 10.
Excellent. So at Shake It Up, I get those shaken not stirred at Shake It Up.
Shake It Up downtown Bloomington, right on Front Street, right across from the courthouse.
Yeah.
Plenty of parking right there in the parking deck that's across from Rosie's.
Yeah.
So it's really accessible. Beautiful place. Really good food. Like They
have banging fries.
Yes, their fries are great. I think they're duck wontons or something like that they've got as an appetizer
fancy.
are super good. Like they have great burgers too. But yeah, good drink specials. They'll have some stuff for us. So and good, like lots of good local beer on tap too.
So awesome. All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you so much, Brett.
You're
really
welcome.
enjoyed talking to you. We'll have to get you back and just talk about theater for no reason.
You too. It is one thing that I am apt to babble on about for hours.
I will talk about theater till I'm blue in the face. So that's why I started the podcast.
Yeah.
So, all right. Have a good night, everybody. And thank you so much.
Thanks.